We're talking Super Wildcard weekend, and which team out of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens carries the most pressure, the most weight heading into Saturday's matchup. Welcome back to Mic Drop Sports, everybody. I am Jason. Thank you for joining us here on a Wednesday. Let's talk Steelers-Ravens Wildcard weekend. Which team here carries the most weight on their shoulder? Which player carries the most weight on their shoulders? I'm going to say it's Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson 2-4 in the playoffs, a guy that's only got 2 wins against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career, and really now has the best team on paper. Everybody's going to pick the Baltimore Ravens. The weight of the world is on Lamar Jackson. This game could also be major weather implications from the get-go. There's forecasts that are crazy, up to 8 inches, as little as 2 inches. Maybe it's not snowing during the game. Maybe it is. It's going to be cold as shit. And which team does that play into their favor? The Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves in a situation here that if Mike Tomlin loses his stubborn bullshit, that he stops trying to believe, oh, I'm right all the time, I'm always right, nothing will change. If he goes into the game like that, if he goes in there with that stubborn nature, the Pittsburgh Steelers will lose. But if Mike Tomlin somehow this week figures out something here, a light bulb goes off in his head, and he says to himself and the coaches in their coaches meeting, I want to be different. I want you guys to come out and I want you to empty the cupboard. I want you to hit them with everything we can and go at them in a big way and be different, be eccentric. I think then maybe you got a chance to win. Let's talk, though, about the records that the Pittsburgh Steelers possess in terms of playoffs when they meet a team for the third time. And this isn't a very deep history because this hasn't always been able to happen, to be honest. 70s, 80s, that wasn't the case. I believe you could start playing the same team probably in the 80s, maybe. I'm not 1,000% sure on that, but it hasn't been a crazy amount of a long time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be able to do this. And they are 10-2 against teams that they have faced 3 times in one season. 10-2. The Baltimore Ravens, I believe, have beat them once. Maybe the Bengals have beat them once or something like that. Maybe the Browns. It was the Browns and the Ravens. So the Browns and Ravens give them those 2 losses. The Browns not too long ago during the Ben era, and also the Ravens during the Ben era. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, 10-2 when facing a team for the third time. And the Ravens have actually a losing record facing teams for the third time in the playoffs. And everybody in the world saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers has no chance. The weight of the world is on Lamar Jackson, a player that has not won a big game. Maybe he proves me wrong here this weekend because this is a big one. When you're facing a divisional opponent for the third time in a season, you're at home. You have all the people in the world talking that talk football saying how great Lamar Jackson is. He could possibly be a 3-time MVP after this season, facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything on the table for the Ravens in terms of possible Super Bowl aspirations. And here it is, a big game. Can Lamar Jackson guide this football team past the Pittsburgh Steelers? Or will the Pittsburgh Steelers start one of those magical runs? If we look at this football team and we say to ourselves, what has happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last month? It's real simple. There's no adjustments from Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith. And what happened to where it put them in a situation to where they would have had to make adjustments? They haven't been getting the turnovers. The turnovers were really on their side. The ball was bouncing their way during that 10 games where they won those games. Those 10 games, the ball was really bouncing their way. Turnovers was falling in their lap. And now they're not. They're not coming up with those turnovers. But they are turning the ball over a little bit. But that little bit has taken that Mike Tomlin game plan and crumpled it up and threw it in the trash can. Now, if you're the Steelers, you got to find different ways to win whenever you're not getting those turnovers, and that's what good teams do. Perhaps maybe the ball starts bouncing back in the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor. You look at the Ravens, they've had trouble on punt and kick returns all year with people fumbling. Maybe those turnovers fall back into the Pittsburgh Steelers' favor. I believe they got Steven Sims now out there returning kicks for the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe that's a guy that, puts the ball on the turf. We'll see what happens there. But you look at the Ravens and what has been their Achilles heel this year. Justin Tucker, a guy that's a Hall of Famer, no doubt, an amazing career, but he has let the Baltimore Ravens down. He has cost them games this season. And when you've had a year like Justin Tucker, now all of a sudden you find yourself in a big game where there perhaps could be bad weather. Who's going to be the better kicker in that situation? Is it going to be Chris Boswell or Justin Tucker? Justin Tucker has not had the year Chris Boswell has had, and perhaps maybe that is another X factor inside of this matchup that the Pittsburgh Steelers are about to embark on. But this game, guys, means a shit ton. And in my opinion, in Super Wildcard Weekend, as they call it now, it's Wildcard Weekend. But in Super Wildcard Weekend, this game probably means the most. This game is probably the most meaningful out of them all, to be quite honest with you, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. Here's the thing. This one right here is for a lot. This is for bragging rights in the division. It's for Lamar Jackson to possibly crawl out from underneath his big game curse. It's for Russell Wilson to perhaps, get this team back on track to make a playoff run. It's for Mike Tomlin to maybe bounce back here after a decade of no playoff wins. Maybe people get off this mediocrity thing that I think is a real thing. I think he's brought tons of mediocrity to the city of Pittsburgh. I think he's brought a level of acceptance for being just okay. And that wasn't the Steelers' way during their course of this storied franchise. The storied franchise has been all about winning, all about being that number one team, all about being super. And Mike Tomlin has kind of taken that away a little bit here. However, you look at this game and you say to yourself, this could really change a lot for a lot of people. Do we see a lot of Justin Fields inside the red zone, inside of a fourth and short, third and short type play? Do we see that? Do we see some wrinkles to where the Pittsburgh Steelers use Mike Williams and George Pickens out there at the same time to give the defense something to really think about? Because Russell Wilson is a guy that will throw that deep ball. And when you have two guys that will go up and get it like Mike and George, that really adds something. And when you put them both on the field with Pat and Calvin, I think that you right there, also putting Jalen in there, you have a set that's very skilled. And I think that Russell Wilson could do a lot of damage with that. But will the Steelers be willing to do that? Or will Mike Tomlin continue his stubborn ways? We'll see, guys. And honestly, I'll be honest here. I don't see Mike Tomlin changing anything. I don't see Mike Tomlin coming into this game and doing anything differently. That has to be sad for you as a Steelers fan. It's sad for me because it's just more of the same, and it almost guarantees you a loss if he doesn't. But hey, there's a lot of variables at play here. There's a lot of things that could come into play that could really dictate the way this game all plays out. This is a game also that could really get one of these teams on a real run because it's a signature win inside of the playoffs. Two good football teams, in my opinion. Yes, the Steelers are good. I think the Steelers have bad coaching right now, but their team, I think, is good. It could get one of these teams on a run, guys. It's a signature win. It's a momentum-building win. And I think either one of these teams that win this game will be dangerous inside of the playoffs. And I'm saying that for the Ravens, too, not just the Steelers. Whichever team wins this game, and I know the Steelers are on a losing streak. I understand that. One of only a couple teams that have ever made the playoffs on a 4-game, 5-game losing streak. I think the Bengals were one. That type of stuff, but I'm not sure exactly who all they were. But I think it's 2 or 3 teams that have ever done this. But again, it's a real momentum shifter for one of these football teams. It's a real momentum booster, and it could really propel one of these teams into being absolutely super. Let's be honest here. The Steelers and the Ravens know how to win in bad weather. They know how to win in non-ideal situations. So that may play a big role considering Buffalo, Kansas City are teams inside of this playoff bracket that play in bad weather, outdoor stadiums, that the weather could be really, really bad. So maybe this plays into the hand of one of these teams. The Steelers possess a downhill runner like Najee Harris. The Baltimore Ravens possess a downhill runner like Derrick Henry. So that could really play into these guys here. These two teams could really have a little bit of an extra gear that other teams may not possess. So again, I think it's going to come down to some simple things for the Pittsburgh Steelers here, guys. And I'm going to give you some feel the steel moments here that the Steelers need to have happen. They need to utilize Pat Freiermuth. They need to utilize a more spread formation in terms of Jaylen Warren, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, Mike Williams, and Calvin Austin out there all at one time. I know the Ravens have an excellent defensive front, but I think that back end could be susceptible to some one-on-one matchups to where Russell Wilson could throw some 50-50 balls back there, especially inside of the 20, even inside of the 30. I think that could work with that defensive front of the Ravens. They're going to get there quick, and if you're Russell Wilson, you could get that ball up and out real fast. I think you give your wide receivers a real chance. Also, Pat Freiermuth on some drag, some quick middle stuff to move the ball. You need a chain mover in this football game. And I think that's what the Steelers need to rely on Pat Freiermuth for. Also, Calvin Austin, getting him in space with his speed. Maybe that happens when you have a guy like Mike and George out there on the edges that are running some deeper routes that maybe free up a guy like Calvin Austin, because you're not going to be able to double everybody. And if you're Mike Tomlin, I hope you're hearing this, because these things have to happen. And you could call me a liar. You could act like I'm crazy because I don't believe in your dated, stubborn personality and your dated, stubborn game plan. But I really, truly believe if you do those things offensively, you have a real shot at going to the second round of the playoffs to probably face the Kansas City Chiefs. Probably. We'll see how that all happens and plays out. But I really think that gives you an edge. And if you're the Baltimore Ravens, I think that Lamar Jackson has to come out and have a real big game. That's how you beat the Steelers. I think Derrick Henry can also get Lamar out of that stadium. Maybe that's how that all plays out. Defensively, I think it's all about the Ravens' defensive front to beat the Steelers. And for the Steelers, I think it's all about getting pressure on Lamar Jackson and making him uncomfortable, especially if it's going to be some bad weather. And I think the Steelers could cause some significant turnovers there. Lamar hasn't thrown a ton of interceptions, but I think you could cause some fumbles with Lamar Jackson, getting him out of the pocket, getting those swats from behind out of his hands, causing some big hits on Lamar Jackson, and maybe just get him out of this game in terms of his headspace. Because I think, honestly, I'm not going to bullshit this and act like it's not a reality here, but Lamar Jackson is a guy that you could easily confuse. Let's be honest about it. Lamar Jackson is a guy that I think X's and O's, schematics-wise, isn't top tier. And I think that Lamar relies on a lot of his athleticism. I mean, you're looking at a guy that's a second contract guy that may not be as athletic as he once was whenever he entered the league. And maybe that's the little edge right there that the Pittsburgh Steelers can identify and win, making Lamar uncomfortable. So maybe that'll happen. But I do believe this football game isn't going to be a blowout either way. I think that this is going to come down to the end, and I think it's going to come down to which kicker is able to win this ball game for their team. I think it's going to come down to one of those big kicks from a Tucker, from a Justin, or from a Boswell. I think that's where it's going to come down. And I think it's also going to come down to one of these special teams type turnovers, a missed kick by Tucker or Boswell, a botched punt or kick return to where they put the ball on the ground. I think that's another key factor in this football game also. But guys, again, the weight of the world is on the Baltimore Ravens. Everything is on them. Nothing is on the Pittsburgh Steelers because nobody expects them to win this game. Nobody's giving them a chance in this football game. And if you're Lamar Jackson, you have to see the headlines. You're 10-point favorites to beat your division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most storied franchises in the NFL. You are 10-point favorites. And if you're the Steelers, you're 10-point dogs going in where nobody thinks you can win. And they all think you're going to get dog walked. What do? Do you come out and make some waves here and get on a playoff run? We'll see what happens, guys. But this football game, in my opinion, means a ton for this AFC bracket. And I think whichever team comes out of this ball game as the winner is going to have significant momentum and will be really, really dangerous moving forward inside of the playoffs. All right, guys, thank you for joining us here on Mike Drop Sports in our daily upload here on a Wednesday. Don't forget to join us tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Steel City Live. That's only here on Mike Drop Sports, one of YouTube's best football live shows. I can guarantee you that. And if you're a fan and you want your voice heard, make sure you get on to Steel City Live and put your comments, questions, and concerns inside of the live chat, and I will answer basically every single damn one of them, unless it's something stupid. So we'll see what happens. But you guys have been awesome. Like, share, all that good stuff. We've been aiming for that 100 like mark on each of our content, and we've been hitting it a couple times here and there. So let's continue that march. Let's get 100 likes here on this show. Also, guys, if you haven't subscribed, we only need 28 more subscribers to hit 4,000. And I celebrate all those milestones because it's about you. You guys are the reason, and I celebrate you as much as I possibly can because I think you are the ones that value or matter, and that's where the value is. It's the value of a YouTube channel lies in its subscribers, not to me. It all lies on you guys that view the channel, and I'm going to continue to make that push to make sure you are the most valued part of what this channel is all about. Also, guys, when we hit that 10,000 subscriber mark, don't forget we are giving away a signed, authentic Nike TJ Watt jersey. We will give that jersey away to one lucky Mike Drop Mafia member, but we have to hit that 10,000 subscriber goal. And also, if we get up to 12, I will get it authenticated, I will get it framed. And if we get up to 15,000 subscribers before the giveaway, I will get it authenticated and framed. But it has definitely been signed. I have the picture of when it was signed, everything. So definitely it's something cool, and I think you would love it to have on your wall a signed Pittsburgh Steelers jersey by one TJ Watt. All right, guys, we'll see you tonight on Steel City Live. I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports and our daily upload here on the channel. Peace, my friends. See you on the next one.